Welcome to Floriade. It's a festival of gardening, it's a sustainability conference, it's an art show, it's a world's fair, it's a sculpture garden, it's a showcase for contemporary gardening, and it only happens once every decade in the Netherlands. Brooke and I are in Amsterdam visiting some friends, so I hop on the train and head up to Almere, where this edition of Floriade is taking place. As soon as I enter the event, they hand me a copy of the map, and I realize this thing is huge. I'm completely overwhelmed, and I only have 6 or 7 hours to see as much as I can. I start with the international pavilions and take some quick trips to Bangladesh, where they're showing off the many uses of jute, and China, where they've built this garden full of bamboo and flowers, and the Germany pavilion, which they've dubbed Utopia. It explores the possibilities of green cities through a series of interactive exhibits. This one feels like a cross between an arcade and the Science Museum. It also has a green roof with a beehive. There's an incredible floral display at Japan's pavilion, and a lush forest inside Suriname's greenhouse. And then I wander into the pavilion for the United Arab Emirates, which stands out in these lush surroundings. This pavilion isn't full of greenery, it's essentially a desert. I chat with a member of the staff, who's from Dubai, who explains that they're trying to find plants that can not only thrive in a sandy and salty environment, but can also support the population. He points me to this patch of salicornia, which they've started growing in the country. It thrives in dry environments, and it can even be watered with salt water. Also, it can be picked and served fresh in a salad. I ask what it tastes like, and he tells me to try some. It's very salty, but crisp and tasty. They're also experimenting with making a salicornia-based biofuel. The cities of Amsterdam and Almere built this pavilion called the Voice of Urban Nature that's made entirely from recycled and renewable materials and is planted densely to invite wildlife. Amsterdam is home to a lot of people, but they want to encourage you to think of it as a nature reserve too. There's a cool circular structure that shows off unique plant-based building materials. The outside of the structure is made of mycelium panels, the roof is cotton, and the floor is made of cattail. The plant, not the end-of-life cat. Did I mention that Floriade is celebrating the National Day of Cutter today? I stopped by the official opening ceremony where a government representative is delivering a speech.
It is my great pleasure and honor to be here today.
Oh, and there are tiny houses, rose gardens, apple orchards, this display of construction equipment, and a garden designed to soothe all 5 senses. Despite this soothing garden, I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. Yes, I love plants and sustainability, but this is a lot to take in. Thankfully, I end up on Green Island, where there's a huge forest that I take a stroll through. Ah, that's better. And within the forest, there are all these art installations, like this maze-like piece titled Passage. And this crank-powered machine that talks about the experience of being a tree.
I was planted here. I, the boss, the heavyweight, a true force of nature.
At this point, I realize there's a whole other island I haven't even seen yet. Utopia Island, which is home to some of the larger art installations. I head over and am immediately drawn into the spiral garden called Wild Wild, which means wild wealth in Dutch. The outer walls are made of tree trunks and branches intermixed with repurposed stones and tiles that create habitat for birds and insects. Inside the walls is another spiral, planted with greens and vegetables and flowers. The center is a spiral pond, where kids are invited to do some pond dipping to see what kind of aquatic creatures they can find. When I see something called the Worm Experience on Utopia Island, I know I have to check it out for my friend and fellow Substacker, Dan Masoliver of the Earthworm. This walk-through sculptural installation attempts to replicate what it's like to be a worm. What do you think, Dan? There are also a lot of plant-related performances, but my timing's always off. I'm especially sorry to miss this show, featuring these folks in flower costumes. One thing that really impresses me is this Rollout flower meadow. It's just like grass turf, except it's pre-planted with native wildflowers. It flowers within a few weeks of installation, though it's not available commercially yet. When I say that visiting Floriade is like visiting Disneyland, I'm not kidding. There's even a ride. This cable car takes you up in the air for an 8-minute, 850-meter journey. That's over half a mile. We get an epic view of the exhibition and the surrounding areas, which keeps reminding me of how many things I haven't seen yet. And just like that, it's time for me to start heading towards the exit. On the way, I discover this adorable rustic bridge that crisscrosses over a creek. a religious garden inspired by biblical quotes, and this tree that creates its own electricity to power lights and tell humans when it needs to be watered. With all this talk about sustainability, it makes me wonder what's going to happen to this huge Floriade site when it closes in October. Well, they're transforming this whole area into a new sustainable residential community. All these roads and paths and streetlights they've already installed, and some of the buildings, will be a part of that community. Here's a Lego model of what the area will look like eventually. And what about that cable car? It's going to be deconstructed and then reconstructed in Mannheim, Germany next year. Well, I'm a mere few feet from the exit when I see a sign pointing to a glass structure. That's when I find out there's a huge exhibition hall full of installations and exhibitors that I didn't even know existed. But I've got a shuttle bus to catch. I'll be back in a decade for Floriade 2032, and now I know. One day is not enough.